Hello everybody and very warm welcome to the next episode of our webinars. In this episode of Forecast Webinars, we'll discuss managing client expectations. So, in this webinar, first of all, you will see how to set up clients and invite guest users. Secondly, you'll discover how to work with clients on projects of your choice, of course. And finally, you will find out how to collaborate with your clients via project participation or reports. My name is Adam, and I will be taking you through some of the basics of collaborating with your clients in Forecast. I'm also joined by my colleague Clara, who will be taking your questions. Throughout this webinar, please feel free to voice any questions you might have. These are really quite important. I will address all questions at the very end. And as always, all feedback will be greatly appreciated because it helps us to improve and address your needs and desires a bit better. Without any further ado, let us see how to manage your client's expectations in Forecast. To work with clients, your admin panel is the place to work with. Your admin panel will be found here, given that you are a user with the permission level of an admin. If you don't see it here, then you will need your colleague with admin permission level to promote you. Always feel free to find us on chat if you have any questions about how that can be done. And so, as you can see, within the admin panel, we have the client section. For this demo environment, it contains a number of clients, but just to demonstrate, let us create a sample client as if you were doing if you just began with Forecast. So adding a client is rather simple. All you need to do is to click on Add Client and insert the appropriate name. And the client that we have just created will be found here. Importantly, there is a brief little distinction here between creating a client, i.e. what we have just done now, and inviting a guest user, which you see here. You see, a client created in Forecast does not necessarily have access to anything. By creating a client, you are creating, so to say, a frame from which guest users will be invited. If you want specific individuals to be enabled to monitor your work and so that you can share some of your tasks with them, you will need to invite a guest user through here. This is a simple email step, and once you select the given person and you send them an email, they will see something quite a lot like this, you see. And so you will probably want to add 1 or 2 clients and then supplement them with guest users. To get a better picture, let us look at one of the clients I made before, and this one is called the BBC. And as you can see, I've got the Right Honorable Jim Hacker as my guest user. This will serve quite nicely for the purposes of this demonstration. Now, you are probably thinking about what is it exactly that clients can do and what is it that you can do with clients in Forecast. Well, so to answer the first part of the question, the client in Forecast will see only those projects to which they have been assigned to. And as we will see shortly, the client will see only the projects page and the workflow page within the given project. So let us take an example to clarify. Take, for instance, P70. And notice that in the setting section, I've got the client section, which is already selected here. You can always change your client from the list found here. So that basically means that P70 has assigned to it a client, in this case, Jim Hacker from the BBC. And importantly, note that when a guest user is invited into your Forecast, they will not only see only those projects to which they have been assigned to through this here, but also they will see only those tasks to which they have been assigned to. So in essence, the point is that you stay in control over what your client sees. This will become clearer as we go along. Now, as mentioned, your place for tasks for a given project is always the workflow. So let's have a quick look at the workflow in this little project of mine. One of the things, as just mentioned, that you can do with clients and tasks in workflow is to assign the given task to a client. Consider, for example, this little task I've got here. At the moment, it's assigned to Anna Turner, but we can see that the guest user of JimHacker is here. So if I wish to share this task with JimHacker, all I need to do is to assign him to it, like so. Also, notice that I have two columns here, client review and client approved. This is a bit of a best practice for us. Consider creating a column of client review and populating with all the tasks that you would like your client to check and possibly add some comments on. And then later on, the client, once he or she is satisfied with them, can move them to the column of client approved. And this way you can enable like this two-way communication between you and them. Now, other than assigning a given task to a client, you can also make them a follower of this task. So for instance, consider this little task here. We just saw that we can assign a given person to the task, but another option is to add a follower through here. Again, we have the familiar now list of people, and we can add JimHacker as a follower. Now, consider the difference here. When you assign a person to a task, that person is in essence responsible for doing the work. And a task can have a number of assignees, more than one, simply said. But a follower, just like the one we have established now, is slightly different. The followers are in essence those who can potentially collaborate on a task, but mainly would just like to keep up to date with a given task and get updates on the said tasks. And so if you put someone as a follower of this task, they will be not so much involved in the work on it, but rather in terms of monitoring it, and they will receive status notifications and task updates through the bell icon here. So with all this in mind, let us now have a quick look at how the platform could look from the perspective of before mentioned JimHacker. So now notice that I'm the Right Honorable JimHacker, and this is what I would see if I were to follow the link we saw before and sign up to the platform. As you can see, I see only one project because in fact this only one project has been shared with me. And when I click to open the project, notice that I see much less than the standard admin and forecast would. But nevertheless, I see all the tasks to which I have been assigned, including the little T1079 that we worked just a second ago. And imagine now that I, as a client, am working through those tasks. And for example, I decide that this one, that one, and perhaps this one as well are approved by me. And by moving them to a Kanban column of client approved, I communicate that, okay, this is a green light from me. This looks good. So now let us go back to our original environment and see what else we can do to make most of the collaboration between you and your clients. Now, notice that I'm my admin again, and now I see that the 3 tasks approved by client appear in my column. So that's great. That basically means that the communication between me and them works fine. But there is more. In fact, say for instance that you are looking through the task that the client has approved, such as this one, for instance, and something comes to your mind and you think, I should better speak to the client about it. Well, nothing easier. Having the Google Calendar integration enabled, what you can do is open the settings of the given task to create a Google Calendar meeting with the said client. So when you click on that one and follow the steps, yours and your client's Google Calendar will be populated with the appropriate task denoting the appropriate meeting, corresponding to the given task. So this is yet another way to reach out to your client through the task level. Well, there is still more. There is, of course, the section of reports. Let us consider, for example, project progress report. This is a general progress report that gives you quite a lot of information. If you're interested in how to create and adjust reports, be sure to check out some of the videos on our webinar page. We go through reports in quite a detail. But for purposes of this discussion, notice this little button here. It's very likely a very familiar icon with many of us. And so what this is essentially a sharing option. And importantly, here you can share the given report with a client, even though they are not a user in Forecast per se. So all you need to do here is just to type in the email of the person in question, and they will receive an invite to see the report. And finally, there is one more way in which you can empower your clients. Let us go back to P70, about which we have been talking just now. In the setting options of this and all of your projects, when you scroll down, notice the section Public Create Task Form. Now, this is the least invasive, so to speak, way of engaging your client with the platform, you see. So what this is essentially a link through which the client, who is not necessarily a user of Forecast, it can create a task, which you will see. So let us see what happens if I were to copy this link, all right, and just paste it here. Notice that I end up with this little nice form, and as a client, I can add a task for the company that is doing some work for me. And once I add it, I, as a user of Forecast, will be able to see it in my projects and tasks. So now let us have a quick look at some of the main takeaways so far. So inviting your clients to collaborate with you on project is a pretty good way to ensure deliverables are meeting their needs, i.e. that you and them are on the same page. And secondly, you can also keep your clients involved by simply having them to create specific tasks that your team can work on. Alternatively, you can simply send your clients a progress report, just like the one we have seen a few minutes ago, to make sure that they are up to speed. So this closes the 15-minute mark, and let us have some questions.
Thanks, Adam. So these are the questions that we have. The first question is, what information can my client see when I inviting them as a client user?
Sure, and that's a very good question indeed. So as we have seen, the client user can see a project to which they have been assigned to, the workflow, i.e. the Kanban board of the given project, and all the tasks that compose the workflow. Thanks.
The next question that we have that just came up is, do clients see all the time entries on the ticket?
Yes. That's a short one. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then the other question that we have is, can I customize my client permission level? For example, I would like them to see the timeline of a project if I invite them to.
Well, not necessarily. You can always, well, if you want the client to see a little more than they would if they are just a guest user, then it's always a good idea just to consider adding a standard user in Forecast with the permission level of, say, for example, manager or controller. And in that way, they will be able to see a lot more.
Okay, thank you, Adam. And the last question that we have is, if I invite a client to participate in a project, can they create tasks and can they log time?
Yes, they can create tasks for sure. As we have seen, let me just demonstrate very quickly. So now I am the client user, the guest user for that matter. And notice that the global add button gives me the option to create tasks. And you can, of course, do estimates as well, and description and everything else that goes with the task. Thank you. Would that be all, Clara?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Well, excellent. So before we close, be sure to sign up for the next episode, episode 7, in our Waddle 4 series, in which we'll be talking about optimizing team collaboration. I hope to see you there. And if there are any other questions, then I'll keep this channel open for a little while more. And please send anything through, and I'll be happy to answer them here or in the email afterwards. Thanks very much for joining me, and I hope you have found it useful. Thank you.
Thank you.